What is up, guys? PoliticsGaming here, and today this is probably going to be the biggest announcement since I originally announced the original Power and Revolution back in the year 2015. What we have here is the next iteration of the Geo-Political Simulator franchise. This is Geo-Political Simulator 5. This is going to be the next game in the franchise, and this came as a shock to pretty much everyone associated in this community. This is something that I was not aware of. This is something that pretty much no one that I am connected to was aware of, except a few sources that I have, which I will not name here. I was kind of hinted at this whenever I was talking to one of my sources, and he basically informed me that there was a new quote game coming. Basically, whenever he said that, I was like, well, game? Like, are we talking about a new edition? He didn't use the word edition, and usually whenever I talk to Eversim or anyone related to Eversim, I usually hear the word edition. It's usually a very specific word that we hear whenever it comes to the new iterations each year. So we have these editions, but then he said a new game is coming, and I was like, game, and I tried to kind of like press him on it, but then he didn't really let up, and we were just kind of discussing other things. But basically, we have the upcoming release of Geo-Political Simulator 5. This is the upcoming release of Geo-Political Simulator 5. This is, we will go through everything on this website right here. This is a brand new website that we have for Geo-Political Simulator 5. The new version will be released in early access, and we will discuss all of this, and then the game will be sold on this site as a promotional early access price, as well as the additional discount for owners of the 2023 edition. We also have a new Discord server which will be dedicated to supporting new players and sharing information with the community to improve the game for the entire early access period. Now, I'm going to go into all of this throughout this video, but I'm going to say that I really hope that the Discord server is more of a permanent thing rather than just for the early access period. That needs to be something where all of us can consistently say, hey, like, here's a bug, and then they release a lot more updates than we usually get. If we go back to the 4 updates per year kind of model, I really think that this will be a huge disappointment of a game. And I'm going to go through all of my thoughts, everything like that. I've been very conflicted about this announcement. But we have a couple of screenshots. We're going to go through all of the information here. So what we have is Geo-Political Simulator 5, aka GPS 5, is a simulation of our current world, recreating its features in depth and across a number of domains: economic, political, military, social, financial, environmental, energetic, and transportation. Every country and major multinational corporation are represented with their own variables and functions. Now, you just noticed that I said multinational corporation. We're going to get into that in a minute, which, yes, that does mean that you are going to be able to play not only as countries in this game, but also corporations. And that is probably the most exciting feature of this, and I will get into it. That was actually an idea of mine so many years ago, and I will talk about that very, very soon. The calculation and scenario engines include more than 150,000 facts and figures, 20,000 texts, and 12 hours of recorded dialogue. An ultra-detailed and animated 3D map with vegetation, bodies of water, every border, regions, production facilities, and important strategic sites around the globe become your playground. We also have simulation details, which we'll talk about in a second. The game combines management stages of economics, commerce, war games, construction, espionage, simulation, and political influence and manipulation. You can opt to control one or more countries or one or more major corporations simultaneously and devise collaborative strategies to change your own destiny or the world's. Game sessions are customizable in several ways: activity level of terrorist organizations, probability of natural disasters, reactions of people, outbreaks of wars. More than 20 contextual scenarios with current events from today's world are integrated. And then obviously you can play as the head of state, the leader of political opposition, and or the president of a multinational company. Pretty much a lot of this is the copied and pasted from previous game. Now, what I'm upset about a little bit is that I don't really have a lot more information on this, and I want to know, does the gameplay, the core gameplay, change, or is it power and revolution with the addition of you being able to play as multinational corporations? So we have nominates leaders of your government, modify taxes, which there are 30 taxes available. 30 taxes, I would say, like, I feel like I would say maybe 30 of them are in Power and Revolution. I need to go back and count. Business sector grants with more than 130 integrated sectors, so they're not reducing the complexity of the economy. We have the state budget, and then we have a lot of this. A lot of this hasn't really changed. And then we have the Great Builder. On the map, you can display major infrastructure construction sites, such as, for example, nuclear power plants, wind farms, military bases, oil pipelines, offshore drilling stations, high-speed rail, etc. And then we have Commander of Armies. Nothing really changes here, except we also have the ability to call in the National Guard, which is the army still shown to be the army whenever you send them into protests, or is it officially going to be the National Guard instead? Which I think that would be a good addition. That way it's not literally you sending in the military in order to quell protests. Super Communicator, we have at any moment players can be heard in the media, give a televised address to calm the fervor of protesters, to promote the passing of a law, to make an official statement like a declaration of war or opening of the Olympic Games. Players can also deliver an influential speech at the UN or make an appearance at a public place to promote their image. Obviously, during elections, you can run a campaign and participate in debates that defend your platform, so maybe elections are going to be changed. Businessman or woman, the head of state can directly promote the development of their country by signing free trade agreements with other countries or economic contracts in strategic domains such as defense or energy. So economic contracts in strategic domains such as defense or energy. So does that mean that we can maybe there's going to be a revitalized military production system, because I do not exactly like the one from Power and Revolution. Leaders can launch construction projects for high-speed rail trains or pipelines across several countries. They can attempt to merge global economic organizations, participate in their serious decisions, or even create new ones. So is the international organization screen, is that going to be revamped in this new edition, in this new game? An informed head of state, we have special operations that players can utilize, but at their own risk or perils. Because these actions are discovered, it can unleash a scandal. They can investigate an adverse political party, dismantle terrorist organizations, sabotage foreign infrastructure, so maybe like certain types, so maybe not even just nuclear plants, but we can also go after like economic infrastructure, maybe send satellites or drones to spy on armed forces, launching cyber attacks or competing campaigns, etc. So here is the play as the head of a company. This is the major addition of this game that I know of so far. I have not received any email or expansion of information from Eversim directly, so all of this is completely just guessing about what all of this is meaning. We have a consortium CEO. More than 3,000 major worldwide companies are included, along with their real-world data, and several thousand others are simulated on all economic sectors in all countries of the world. As the head of one or more of these companies, you have the tools of all information necessary to lead and develop your companies. So the funny part about this is that I suggested this to Eversim several years ago, and I tried to find the email and I was not able to, but I specifically remember sending Louis Marie Marquez an idea saying, hey, this would be really cool if, for example, and I never went into this much detail that they're going into, which I think this is a huge step in the right direction. What I told him, and I said, there has to be a way that we can talk to companies, we can maybe break up these companies, maybe we can interact with companies in Power and Revolution. That way we can say, you're too big, we need to break you up, or that instead of just going to the billionaires or to conducting a fundraiser for your campaign, you could approach these companies and say, hey, like, I'm gonna do this for the company tax, for example, so give me this amount of money or give me fundraising, basically, just another way to raise funds for your campaign. And then they actually got back to me, and Louis Marie Marquez got back to me and said, actually, that is a really good idea, so we will I'm going to go ahead and refer that over to the development team. Now, the interesting thing about this is that this game has been in development for 3 years. They have been under the radar this entire time, developing this game for 3 whole years. And I'm both excited but also worried. And I'm going to be pressing as hard as I can about the development of this game. And we're going to be very close to Eversim whenever it comes to this. They are creating a Discord server for the development of this game in early access, and I am hoping that past the early access stage, they continue to make the Discord server a central place where we can report bugs. Now, what I'm also telling Eversim right now is that we already have a Discord server available for the community, and the leader of that server is willing to hand over control of that Discord server directly to Eversim if Eversim is willing to contact us. So Eversim, if you are watching this, please go ahead and contact us, and I will be emailing you about that as well. Each company's data is precisely detailed. We have revenue, market shares, sales by product, competition, shareholders, staffing, balance sheet. We have screenshots of these companies that we will be going through in detail. You must engage in multiple activities within the company. We have production, commerce, marketing, human resources, finances, taxation, research, security, legal, and politics. So you can interact with the government. You can have legal issues. You can have security issues. You have research and development. You have the financial aspects and taxation aspects of those companies. You have advisors in various domains, and you can also speak to your banker, shareholder representative, or the union leader associated with that company. The game engine calculates in real time all exchanges between companies worldwide and the consumption of products by the population or states using various criteria, which include purchasing power, prices of products, supply and demand. So supply and demand is implemented in Power and Revolution or Geo-Political Simulator 5. We have product innovation, quality labels, corporate taxes are implemented. The business AI adapts to market fluctuations and tries to capture the market share. The states and companies are interconnected with the corporate GDP impacting the state revenue. The taxation, economic, and taxation policies of the government influence business directions and results. So now that we have companies and corporations implemented in Geo-Political Simulator 5, we have much more of a reason to kind of like mess with some of the corporate taxes, and it would make a lot more sense in order to do so. You as a CEO can make many decisions. Some examples include setting pay scale, setting employee profit sharing, regulating working conditions, constructing new factories for your companies, recruitment, starting a redundancy, opening retail outlets, signing new agreements with suppliers, determining sale prices, creating new products for your company, sponsoring contracts with celebrities or partnerships during major events, setting budgets for the legal department. We have research or cybersecurity development, launching of a marketing campaign, and distribution of dividends to shareholders. And then we have the managing of conflicts between your companies. We have the union AI responds accordingly to working conditions, business results, and sharing the wealth, all within the context of the country. So you may have to face minor or major social movements and can respond either by negotiation or, on the other hand, by law enforcement intervention. So we're just basically just going to be sending the cops in every time that you do some union busting. And relations with employees determine productivity. We have financial strategy. You can challenge the competition by promoting their products or modifying the price, for example, but there are also different financial strategies to follow. We have acquiring shares, increasing capital for development, attempting a takeover bid for a competing company, publicly offering an unlisted company, which is called an initial public offering, otherwise known as an IPO. We have the creating of subsidiaries worldwide. So basically a subsidiary, so we have like Pepsi, for example. So a subsidiary of Pepsi could include Kraft mac and cheese. I'm not being like literal. I don't think that they are actually subsidiary, but like, so Kraft may own like another subsidiary like Or actually, here's a better example: Microsoft. So Microsoft is the overall company that owns a bunch of different subsidiaries. One of the subsidiaries of Microsoft is Xbox. So basically, and this is actually implemented in the game, you can play as Microsoft, and then you can deal with the subsidiary, which is a replication of Xbox. So that is what a subsidiary is. The seedy underbelly. We also have a whole arsenal of dirty tricks, like in the real world, with the risk of backfiring on the perpetrator if they are discovered. We have the payment of kickbacks. We have tax evasion, tax fraud, illegal price fixing, political lobbying to encourage lawmakers to vote for laws that favor the interests of the multinational companies. And then by playing as both the head of state and the head of company, you can use the secret services of the company to conduct industrial espionage or could launch a cyber attack on a competing business. So not only can we launch cyber attacks on other countries, we can play both as a head of state and a retail corporation, or just a multinational corporation at the same time, and we can basically just conduct a conflict of interest at the same time. This pretty much like changes the whole dynamic of my series that I run on my channel. So the fun part is that I've actually been getting really bored of Power and Revolution, and this changes the entire dynamic of what I'm going to be able to do with content. This is amazing for content, and I can have so many ideas of what we can do. We have grandeur and decadence. You also have to dream big. One of the biggest multinational corporations in the world acquire a personal fortune and become part of the billionaire class, engage in politics, and win elections. But the road to glory is fraught with dangers. We have bankruptcy, removal by disappointed shareholders. We have salary disputes that turn ugly, or the absorption by a competing consortium. And then we have becoming an opposition leader, which is pretty much the same thing that we have in Power and Revolution. We can play as illegal or legal opposition. Pretty much no differences here. We have realistic war games. The conflicts in Ukraine, Palestine, and Yemen, as well as rebel organizations in the Sahel, the Sudan, Libya, Pakistan, and Syria are all present in the game. We have revolutions and independence movement scenarios, which are from the game. Current civil wars are reproduced in the game with precision. Front lines, occupied territories, besieged cities, localized military units, international military bases, personnel, and material of terrorist groups. Thanks to the minimap, you can have a bird's eye view of the various fronts. And so then we have the player as a head of state can direct each unit independently, give general orders, or plan a series of orders. Some include more elaborate operations such as perimeter defense, secret movements, area bombardments, surveillance by drone, etc. The movement AI looks for the quickest route based on the highways and the terrain. We have temporary camps, minefields, trenches, bunkers, and bunkers. So we have bunkers are new. We have mortars, which I think are a different way of saying artillery, because I think that's what they called it at first. Various types of missiles are included. Troop morale is taken into account. Reservists can be mobilized and demobilized. So I would hope that they can finally give us the option to make reservists changeable. That I want to not make conscription, but I want to say, hey, let's do a campaign to get people to join the reserves. That way I can draw on that instead of having to rely on conscription. And foreign paramilitary troops can be recruited, so we can actually rely on paramilitary organizations now. Artificial intelligence, we have lobbies and major figures. All actions of the player have repercussions, and the lobbies, social groups, and important national, international figures will intervene if their AI deems it necessary. So they're directly part of their own approval and discontent, but are also capable of more radical and harmful actions for the player's popularity rating. We have press interviews, resignations, protests, strikes, unrest, roadblocks, and war as well. Dialogues and meetings to prevent tensions. We can meet with important figures in attempt to win them over, negotiate, which is an agreement with a syndicate, an economic contract, or a strategic alliance with the head of state, for example, an interest rate with an international lender. So that's all from the previous game. International organizations. Anything changing here? We have the country's votes are a result of complex calculation aligned with different protagonists and the evaluation of the proposition in relation to the political regimes of these countries. You can lobby with other leaders, so we already do that in Power and Revolution. Players can also recreate their own organizations by defining the type. We have free trade zone, monetary union, political military organization, or exporting countries, the same before from the original. We have the budget geographic area, its constitution, which is the voting system, head of state meetings, and shared political tendencies. Same thing from the previous. Besides reports from ministers, you can also have various sources of information, an information tablet that displays major events of the world in real time. So actually, that is what changes from the original, is that now instead of a newspaper, which has carried over from GPS 1, which is Commander-in-Chief, Commander-in-Chief, Rulers of Nations, Masters of the World, and Power and Revolution all had the newspaper. They are now taking a page out of the 4th generation warfare book, and we are going to be able to use a tablet instead of a newspaper, which basically kind of digitizes the entire thing, because frankly, no one really uses newspapers anymore, and I'm very glad to see that. And then so we have some of the new features. I already went through most of this in the previous page right here, but we do have new macroeconomic engines. So we have a brand new economic engine, which unfortunately for me, and fortunately for the rest of you, we will be having a economic tutorial 4.0 as soon as this game comes out. It's going to be take some time, but let's go ahead and read this. It has been reconstructed to include the simulation of thousands of worldwide companies that contribute to the GDP of the country. So not only are they going to be contributing in like shareholders, everything like that, but they are contributing to the GDP, with a finer detail on economic exchanges between countries, product shortages and surplus situations, price variation, taxes, embargoes, etc. The engine includes all the buildings present on the world map and in all activity sectors, which in GPS 4, only the energy sector was included with the buildings. So basically, in terms of farms, in terms of services, in terms of industry, all of those will have buildings associated with them that will be able to control companies, etc., everything like that. So the new sectors that have been added are including fertilizer, hydrogen, food industry, medical equipment, mobile phones, and more. So we will be having a plethora of new economic sectors for the game that I am very excited to get into. Now, what I'm really excited about the companies and the new sectors is that basically, if you have watched my economic tutorial 3.0, you will know that in that tutorial, I basically represented every single sector in the game as a company. So that's how you would read it in terms of the sales, of the profits, of the productivity index, everything like that. All of it was basically replicated as if that was a single company. So now instead of having to do trying to view each sector as a company, we're viewing thousands of companies across the world in terms of these economic sectors. So now they, instead of just being some sort of just like conglomerate of companies, they are all individual companies we can have different types of interactions with. We also have a brand new map, and again, we're going to be talking about we're going to be showing the screenshots right after this. We have a brand new map. The new 3D world map is 10 times more precise than GPS 4, with almost 2 million polygons and more than 10 million grid squares for you to allow to build, along with the ability to zoom in closer to the ground. There are new high-resolution textures such as forest, rocks, and farmland, along with the modeling of rivers, lakes, bridges, tunnels, and more than 60 types of buildings, which you have commercial, factories, infrastructures, etc. The military unit movement AI is optimized according to the type of terrain as well as highways. So not only do we have a brand new economic engine in Power and Revolution, or in Geo-Political Simulator 5, it's going to take a long time for me to get used to that. Geo-Political Simulator 5, this is not a drill. This is not a drill for you guys. This is real. This is the next iteration. We not only have a brand new economic engine for Geo-Political Simulator 5, we have a brand new engine for the map, and it looks a lot better than the 90s type of look, the interface that we had in the previous game. So we're going to go over to multimedia right now, and we're going to show off these new things. Now, I already have a complaint right here. We're going to show this guy right here. The UI needs to be updated by the time this gets out of early access. I think that this works, but it needs to be updated. I think that this can be worked on. So I'm just going to say that right off the bat. What we have right here is that we have our GDP right at the top. It shows our unemployment rate. It shows our budget deficit. As well, we have the new types of tabs that we have right here. We also have the God and Spy tab right here. We still have the type of people that we have over here where we can click them and then we can invite them for a meeting. We have the deficit in GDP, which shows all of the other countries that are like us. I think this is better than the previous game. I didn't necessarily like the little cylindrical bars. I think those were a little too hard to read, especially whenever it was two economies that were pretty much the same size. So like Japan and the United Kingdom, they basically look identical in terms of height. So I think this is going to be a little bit easier right here. Again, right down here, we have all of the same stuff. We have the currency, the budget, debt, taxation, currency, and civil servant. I think this needs to be worked on. I'm just saying it flat out. I think this needs to look a little more high tech. This right here looks really basic, and I think a lot of this is still in development. I think we're only just seeing the very first iterations of this. So I think this is going to look a lot better whenever the game comes out. You can also see the world right here. We have an actual HD, I think even 4K model of the world right here. And this looks 11 times better than Power and Revolution and Masters of the World combined. We actually look decent right here. I mean, you see how good the textures look all across the countries, the forests. You can see forests. It doesn't look like garbage to me. It does not look like garbage. We're going to go over here, and this is our very first look at multinational companies. So these are where you play as, quote, big enterprises. Now, the reason that all of the tabs are very small is because they actually changed the way that the game optimizes itself for larger screens and as well as higher demand computers. And we have a much better look at the closeness of how detailed the world is going to look. I think this looks better than World Warfare and Economics. This looks better than Power and Revolution and Masters of the World combined with literally any other Eversim game. They put a lot of effort into this, and I think that this looks beautiful. I think this looks beautiful. So our very first look at multinational companies right here, we have this right here. We have Microsoft Limited. This is where we're going to be able to play as Microsoft, the Eversim version of Microsoft. So we have the guy that we are going to be playing as, which is Robert Fint, the CEO. We have an approval rating of 18%. We have a consortium notoriety, which is 2 stars. I wonder what that means. We have the headquarters in Washington. This company was founded in 1975. We have consolidated revenue of $345 billion. We are worth, in market value and market capitalization, $3.7 trillion across all of this. We have 246,000 employees, and then we have 15 or 16 subsidiaries. We also have the stock price right here, or the share price, at $556.27. We have all of the shareholders of the company, which 80% of them are apparently in NAS. We have TV Innovation, so maybe these are all the other companies that hold shares in our company. We also have Unisoft, or Ubisoft. So I think this is going to be hilarious in order to, I mean, I'm personally gonna make like Eversim like the #1 company of the world. And I mean, I think this is going to be a game changer whenever it comes to just content. And I think this is going to be exciting. This is kind of like mixing Power and Revolution and Software Inc. So right here we have the same information for Unisoft, but we have general, we have budget, we have annual are, which I don't know what that means. And then we have products that we have. And then this is the organizational list, which is all of our subsidiaries across all of the countries of the world. So we have Unisoft in Canada, India, the Philippines. We have Spain, the United Kingdom, the United States. Unisoft, in which the headquarters is in France. We have the Commerce, Production, and Research tab right here, which this Commerce tab, we can create a new product, we can discontinue a product, we can modify the prices of a product, we have request a label for a company, and then we have creating a prestigious headquarters. And then we have the new product right here, where we can go here, we can say what the type of product it is, we can call the trade name or the brand of the name. So then I think like right here, maybe these are all of the, no, these are all the subsidiaries. So like Microsoft right here, we have Xbox or Xbox game or something like that. Yeah, Xbox. We have video game software, Mesa, Arizona, 2190 employees and 750 are hired. We have annual production units at 64 million, I guess. Automation, we have automation that we can do, and then the construction date was in 2001. And then new product right here, we have estimated resale cost for $4.40. We have margin forecast 15% and estimated CO2 impact of creating that product. We also see right here, we have a lot of different companies that we can make. So you can go into pretty much any type of company. You go into software, you can go into industry, or you can go into farming or energy. I'm going to do an energy company, like the very first series that I do. I'm going to do an energy company and I'm going to call it Enron. That is the exact idea that I'm going to do, and you guys cannot stop me. And then we have market shares. So we have market shares in 404 Games, ICO, Computer, AL Enterprises. We have Bandai Namco. So a lot of these are pretty obvious about who they're trying to replicate. But what are you guys' thoughts on this? Are you guys excited for this feature? Are you guys like, okay, they could have done something else? We have the play as any country tab, so then we have all of the countries that we can play. Another disappointment is that they did not update the face model of all of these characters. So they're basically importing the engine, the character 3D model engine from the previous game. Then we have currency, inflation. Nothing really changes in terms of like all of the information that they show in terms of countries, so nothing really changes there. We have the war game scenario, another thing that I think that needs to be done here. I was playing Power and Revolution yesterday, and I was looking at this destroyer right here, this exact destroyer, the level 3 destroyer, and I truly believe that they need to update these. So I was thinking about that, and I was like, I really hope that at some point they update these. They need to update this ship right here. They need to update this ship, and then they need to, I think they need to remodel these level 4 and level 5 ships. I think they look a little too weird, and especially with the deck guns, I don't think that's realistic, especially for high-tech ships. You have the suicide drones right here, and we have a grain ship carrying what looks like, I'm gonna say that this is the Red Sea, right? Like Yemen is right here, and then Sudan is right here. Obviously playing as a country, so some of these, all these tabs look the same. And then we have another look at the 3D map of the world. And we have Italy. So we have Italy, we have France, Monaco, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Croatia, Montenegro, Serbia, Kosovo is still in the game. It looks like in the 3D map that Poland has had that little region that always sticks out fixed. We do see all of the cities now. We have additional cities in Algeria, it looks like, and then we have some more proportionally sized cities and military bases, and then we have all of the highways. It looks like that the game has just the size of the map seems a lot more proportional, and there's a lot more room to build, I guess, even in small countries. So that is going to be immense for the people that play as smaller countries. You can see how high quality the mountains look in the northern part of the Italian Alps. We do see that the ocean does look a lot better in terms of that. The definition of these islands right off the coast of Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina are definitely touched on. We can definitely see that they stand out a lot more instead of just being ugly little specks right off the coast of Europe. And then we have this screenshot right here. We see the up close and personal look of the island of Corsica right off the coast of France and Italy. We do see that this is the service screen right here. We have one of the companies, or the actions and companies. So we have what one of the economic sectors looks like. So we have a hotel, tourism, and trade, or a tourism, hotel, trade company. So we have Club Mid, and then market share is 0.58%. And then we have the services GDP. So France, Germany, United Kingdom, United States, average EU, and world average. And then so we have sector info, world info, and services info. And then we have actions for this. So that's going to be exonerations, business grants, which means subsidies. And then we have the companies that are associated with this sector. And then so whenever you click that, we come over here, and then we have the company notoriety. We have the I don't know what this little section is. We have the subsidiary of Fusion Associates. So this company is a subsidiary of another company called Fusion Associates. So then maybe they're not really held by France. They're actually held by another country, maybe somewhere in the world. And then we have headquarters, Ile-de-France. We have 1950 as a founding, revenue, confidential, value, confidential, net results and percentage of revenue, confidential. We have subsidiary 0, and they have 10,000 employees. They are a private company, so they do not produce any type of information that we can view. Maybe we can send an agent in there and try to say like, okay, we're going to find all this out, try to figure out what this company is up to. We see the mountains right here are high quality. We see the buildings. We have a hotel right over here. We have an amusement park right over here. We have farmland, farms right over here. And then we have a Air Force base right over here. What is that? It looks like a factory right over here, maybe 2 more factories, another farm. We have a fishing wharf, and then another hotel down on the bottom. This looks like a lot of how Supreme Ruler shows it, where basically all of this is like just all of the sections around the game are like ploppable in terms of creating economic activity through the buildings that you have. Now, what's going to be questionable about this is whether that will restrict what the original game actually did, where basically like now instead of like imaginary companies all over the place, I mean, there's like 2 benefits to this. One of them is that it's going to be a lot more interactable whenever it comes to the economy, but then the downside of that is that it's going to be a lot more micromanaging. So that's what I'm really interested to see, whether that is going to be a benefit or a downside to the game. And configuration of the game, for those who are interested, we have the minimum configuration, which is Windows 11 and Windows 10. You need a 2 gigahertz processor, quad-core processor. You need at least 16 gigabytes of RAM, 2 gigabytes of VRAM on your graphics card, and 8 gigabytes of hard drive space. And recommended configuration for your PC, Windows 10 to 11, 3 gigahertz octa-core processor, 16 gigabytes of RAM, 4 gigabytes of VRAM on your graphics card, and 8 gigabytes of hard drive space. And then the game has totally automated update procedure. If you are connected to the internet each time you launch the program automatically looks for these updates. The current version of the game is 1.0. So now all of the 6.9 whatever of Power and Revolution, all of that is now down back to 1. We're now back at version 1. Now the question is, what are we going to be doing with Geo-Political Simulator 5? Is this going to be Geo-Political Simulator where they're going to be doing some sort of update every, like actual consistent updates, or are we going to be going back to the yearly model? If it goes back to the yearly model, I think it's going to be very disappointing, because we don't need the yearly models. I think that I kind of understand the yearly models. I think they should market them differently, is what I think that should happen. But that is where time will tell. I have a lot of questions for Eversim, and hopefully they are answered. I'm waiting for them to email me back, and they have not contacted any content creators. They have not contacted Mr. Bape, they have not contacted Francie, and they have especially not contacted me. I had to understand that something else was coming out through a third-party source that was connected to them. So that is what kind of sucks about this, and I'm still kind of upset. And then database of economic activities, multinational corporations, and scientific discoveries. We have over 7,000 major companies that are included in the game, covering more than 130 activity sectors. sectors. The 3,000 largest are laid out in great detail with their actual data, which is revenue, market shares, shareholder composition, staffing, etc. All these sectors are listed with their own systems of production and consumption, which is price, raw materials, staff composition, CO2 emissions, productivity, etc. And then we also have over 100 scientific discoveries and technological advances imagined for the next 50 years to come, which is the AIDS vaccine, anti-sleep molecule, digital paper, a new one, which is called optical textiles, nanorobots, and holographic TV. And then blah, 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 for 12 hours of recorded dialogue. We have a copy and paste from the previous games of the nations and their variables. We have interest rates, stock markets, and currencies, which I think I hope that the stock market is expanded upon in this next edition. We have taxation, multiple taxes and duties, including that bracketed income tax, tax on the wealthy, fuel taxes, taxes on alcohol, etc. Major partners, balance of trade, tourism for commerce. And what we have here is the early access of this game. So this game is going to be launching in early access. What is early access? It is the preliminary launch of a new game during which the development team seeks to collaborate with the player community to help fine-tuning the game. Early access allows players who want to be involved in game development to report any problems they may encounter as well as desired improvements. For our part, your feedback will allow us to implement any necessary corrections and improvements. The goal is to have the final version more enjoyable for all players, for those who preferred to wait and for those who wanted to be involved in development. If this approach does not suit your expectations as a player, we encourage you to wait for the game to be developed further before buying it. Why early access? The 5th edition of our Geo-Political Simulator is a result of a massive overhaul taking place over 3 years. This game has been in development for 3 years, guys, which involves the game's economic engine, the world map, and the interface. They have been making this right under our noses, and no one... I asked them like last year on this, whenever I made that video about GPS 5, where I basically confirmed that it was coming out, and he never said anything. He was just like, yes, it is on the table, but I didn't know they've been working on this for 3 years. The new macroeconomic engine has been restructured to change the scale of the simulation. In addition to GPS 4's computational model, which includes all data from every country of the world, the GPS 5 simulation now includes thousands of global companies that contribute to a GDP of their countries. The level of detail in the world map has been greatly improved, which is 10 times more precise than GPS 4, to account for better terrain and infrastructure. The level of detail in the world map has been greatly improved, which is 10 times more precise than GPS 4, to better account for terrain and infrastructure. Finally, the interface has been revamped to be more dynamic, more user-friendly, and adaptable to different screen configurations, which is why some of the screenshots I was showing you, some of the ways that the windows would look were a little inconsistent. All of these major changes will require many adjustments and recalibrations that the player community can help us develop. We also would like to optimize the calculations and perform a comprehensive debugging of the game with player participation during this early access period. This is huge. This is absolutely massive for Power and Revolution, or for GPS 5 and Eversim, because we have been begging them to communicate with the community, to talk directly to us, and we have invited them to Discord servers. We have basically been like we have to do something, because you guys do have I made a video about this 2 weeks ago where I was basically like, there has to be something that's going on that makes them not want to do this. We have to think about this in the modern day. Like, this isn't where you could just make a game and then make an update and just throw it out there. And no, there has to be interaction with the community. And I'm really excited for this, because this is where all of us, not me, not AMN, not anyone else, just not content creators, but you guys are going to be helping make this a better game with direct interaction with Eversim. They are going to be making a Discord server, which will be available soon, I don't know when, that they will basically take all of the input from from everyone that is playing the early access game which, by the way, is going to be running up to 6 months. It says the early access. How long will this game be in early access? We expected this to run up to 6 months. I think that is lowballing it. I think that 6 months is nice, but I think hopefully like everyone is actually contributing. I will be trying to do my part as best as I can to help develop this game, but I think 6 months may or may not be a good idea, but we'll find out. So I think that this is a massive step in the correct direction for Eversim, because not only will this make us directly communicating with Eversim, this makes them more accountable for the game's state. And if they just want to sit there, make a game, put us up through 6 months of early access, everything like that, and then just throw it out there still buggy and everything, then I think that it will still be more accountable. And then going on, we have how is the final version expected to be different from the early access version? The game's balance and realism and simulation will be improved, the AI engine and calculations optimized and bugs corrected, and of course we intend to add new improvements suggested by community of players depending on the complexity of implementation. What is the current state of early access version? The current version is as described on the store page. It allows complete access to the various scenarios and game modes. So basically we're just getting access to the game, but it's early access. Will the game be priced differently during the early access than after? The current price is discounted for the duration of the access period. This discount will end whenever early access period is over. And then how do you plan on involving the player community in the development process? The entire community can submit their ideas and suggestions to expand and improve the game. These exchanges with the community will be done via a dedicated Discord server. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to address about that. Number one, we already have a Discord server with over 2,000 members a part of this server. Now, what I am offering to Eversim, and AMN has already said that he is okay with this. Eversim, we have a Discord server. You don't need to make one from the ground up. We have one. We don't need to do 2 different servers. Come over to just email me. We're going to talk about this, and hopefully they email me, and then we can just have this discussion. We don't need to do a massive evacuation of the server that we have now. Come over to the server that we have, and then we can hand over control of that server over to you. You can do all of the things that you have to do in order to make it acceptable to you. So what we really want is to do as much collaboration with Eversim as much as we can. And I think that this is a massive improvement from what was before. The only way that we were able to contact Eversim, to talk to Eversim, was through emails. And that was so inefficient, it was confusing, and especially for things like right now, where we have a brand new game right on the horizon, and I was not able to talk to them. There's no way to directly contact them, and I've basically been getting ghosted this entire time. I think this is a huge step in the right direction, and I will do everything I can as a community member, as a content creator, and as someone that has been involved in the development of this game from the very beginning. I have been making content on this game since the original version in 2016, and I am very excited to help Eversim get this to where it needs to go. And I think that everything they're doing with the additions that are coming in this new edition, in this new game, and as well as especially the Discord server that they are going to be going for, that is a step in the right direction. And that is exactly what I wanted in that video I made 2 weeks ago. And I think that is very exciting to hear that they're not only going to be making a new game with an early access period, but they are going to be directly contributing and directly talking to the community with everyone involved. And that is great. I think that is exciting, that is amazing, and I think that I am very excited for this game. I've talked to AMN, I have talked to Gabe, I have talked to some of the closest people that I've been following this game with for the years and years that I've been following this game. Everyone is excited for it, and I'm very excited for this. Guys, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you guys want to see more content like this, hit that bell notification icon. Tell me you guys' thoughts down below, what you guys are excited for. Do you guys think that this is going to be a step in the right direction? Do you think the Discord server is a step in the right direction? Do you think that they shouldn't do this at all? Do you think that this is just a money grab? But in my opinion, the early access period along with the Discord server that they are going to be implementing, that is exciting. I think that alone is going to show effort from Eversim that we have been demanding for years and years and years and years. And that is amazing. And I think that that is going to be something that I am looking forward to. And I will see you guys in that Discord server, whether they pick the community server that we have or if they go into a new one by themselves. I will see you guys there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care.